So that way we can follow comments on YouTube, Facebook, and X. All
I've been trying to
right.
have a chat with you for years. So this
Have
is
you really? Have you
beautiful.
ever
This is wonderful.
did you ever here, let me
Yes, I've
tag you
written
on
in, but you were
Facebook.
busy.
Oh, you did?
I've written in,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
but you had plenty of speakers. I probably would have written to you probably 2 years ago. And you had plenty of speakers booked in, and so I just left it, and it was get back to me. So anyway, here we are.
Well, well,
Perfect timing,
divine timing. Yes.
indeed.
So let me just formally open this up. Um,
Mhm.
all right. Shantari Collins, is that right?
Yeah,
Also known as Robin. I thought I put up, hang on, let me just go to the
it's like,
announcement.
or Robin Collins, also known as Shantari.
I also know, yeah.
So yeah.
Let's see here.
So Robin Collins is my birth name.
Yeah, and
Shantari is
you
the name given to me.
yeah. So you have
Spirit.
Shantari Collins on Facebook, and you also have
Yeah.
Robin Collins Shantari, which is,
Yes.
I think,
Yes.
kind of your
Another.
professional page. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with all of us. We're in this new space where, at least in my efforts, trying to enter a space where we come in as, vulnerable, transparent, human and soul converging, uh, sharing, coding through the integration of all of that. The coalescence of all of that through our voice. So thank you so much for coming in, Robin. And
Thank you.
yeah, I don't know where you want to start, but I'm all ears and whatever you'd like to share, or I can start popping some questions out if you need some assistance on that end of it. I'm as
Sure.
nervous as you
Well,
are.
I'm not nervous. I'm excited to finally meet you. So that's pretty cool.
Mm,
Yeah. I think the flow, like what you're saying, is like having authentic conversations like this, being very human, being very, very real with each other. Taking down all of the glitz and glamour of everything, and really coming together as one human, and so my heart is very much around integrating technology, integrating evolution and technology and everything in that postmodern evolution of the creator, the divine,
yeah.
and but bringing it back to the people. I right here, I'm sitting. I'm building a retreat center where people can be here. So as much as being online is awesome because we have these wonderful experiences, it's also very there's a lot of fragmentation going on in the consciousness of of globally, a lot of fragmentation. So yeah, my journey started 30 years ago, when I had two daughters, and I had to have my third daughter, and well, I can say unfortunately at the time, we she died when she was 1 day old, and so that was the moment for me that was, and my whole world, my whole world just shifted, as you can imagine. And so, although yes, you'd never wish, for anyone to, in that level of crisis, to lose a child. It was the worst thing that could ever happen. But then again, it's been nothing but incredible blessings. It's been the best thing that's happened to me. So, even there was many years when I was even going to talk groups, on grief and bereavement, and you're going in there to share and to support other people with through their own loss. And it got to a point where I started doing some guest speaking spots, and the organisers would say, well, so you're in here to say that you are here, you're still a bereaved parent. And I said, but I'm not a bereaved parent. I said, I've actually transcended and understand everything about why her soul came to this planet and what the whole contract was. And they said, well, you have to say that you're still a bereaved parent. And then I said, well, I can't do that. So I stopped talking at grief and bereavement groups, because there was still that that context that you'll be a bereaved parent for the rest of your life. And so already in that context of the mind and the relative relationship field, the third dimensional field, like this is where the consciousness is. So I was very stuck in that, as you understand. So I just kept on going from there. So I watched where I was the victim. I was the mother whose child died, and who's to blame, and how could this have been different, and what could I have done different? Was it my fault? So I went through the whole 3D experience, and then I was like about 2 years in, still in emotional pain, of course, but lucky that I had a very good supported husband at the time, and my children and family and friends. And I was outside and I was putting the clothes on the line, and I just looked up at the sky, because that's the sky is where heaven is, right? So I just looked up at the sky, a bit of conditioning, and I said, if there's a God, you better show up. I can't I can't do this anymore. I can't not have answers, and it's not about, she died from bronchial pneumonia, right? So I've got, I get that. I get medically why she died, and that wasn't what was moving me at that time. I said, I want to know, but why? I was like, but why? Why do bad things happen to good people? That was my the way I was thinking back then. And so, I yelled out to the sky, if there's a God, you better turn up. And then, of course, the other part of my mind says, you don't even believe in a God, you idiot. So it was like, okay, so yes, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in anything. I'm literally an atheist. And what God would, because I'm still like blaming what God would do this. Nothing but a cruel God, right? So I was going through all of those things that a lot of people do experience. And then um, I yelled out and said, if there's a God, you better show up. I used a few words with that as well, of course. And within a week, Oprah was on TV, and so this is 1992, 93, and Oprah was on daily here, and there was a lady on Oprah. Her name was Betty Eadie, and her book was called Embraced by the Light. And I got on the telephone off the wall and called a bookshop, the Theosophical Society in Sydney, because back then, of course, there was no internet, and then it makes it sound like the Dark Ages. Back then, there was no internet, um, and I ordered this book from the Adia bookshop, and it came to me. I was living in the country, and when I read the back of the book, people were asking, like, how do we? So she was talking about her NDE, her near-death experience, and at the end of the book, it was like people had asked questions. How do we experience and understand what that all means without having to have a near-death experience? And at that time, I think she'd written things like you can do yoga or Reiki, develop your develop your psychic abilities. And so, I thought, well, they're all cool, but there's no one teach yoga. No one teaches yoga. No one was teaching yoga. Like there's yoga on every corner of every street now. Um, didn't know what Reiki was or Reiki. Didn't even know how to say it. And wasn't too keen on developing my psychic abilities because this was more about wanting to heal. Yeah. And so then I, went and bought another magazine in the newsagents that, again, I would never have picked up prior to this all experiencing happening. And then I picked up a psychic book magazine. I opened this magazine up and it said, "Are you looking for a spiritual awakening?" And I've gone, well, hell yeah, that's just what I asked for. And so the minute, you know what, it's interesting, like the minute I yelled, the minute I fell to my knees, literally, I've had enough. The minute I surrendered and fell to my knees and say, this pain is so painful, something's got to give here, then I've been able to watch, the sequence of how that unfolded, on all the way through. So then I started I went to do Reiki, and again, there was something mystical about this healing stuff that I didn't understand. I wasn't there to do Reiki. I was there just because I believe this is where spirit has continued to take me. So then I did Reiki, and that just smashed doors open for everything.
Wow. Thank you so much.
That's
And
that's part of it.
that's huge. Thank you for sharing
Mm,
that. I mean, that's huge. I have 6 children, and I can't even imagine at any age. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
say that's the
yeah,
worst thing a parent can go through. What I love
yeah,
about
yeah.
your testimony is your perception, because your chosen perception, because that is our choice to see things from that place. I haven't, I used to read a lot, like 1,000+ books, whatever. I don't even know. But I remember that book. And that I would have to say of the, whatever, I don't know, a couple thousand books I've read, especially from the age of 23, that was one of the most impactful books I ever read. Uh, Betty Eady, what was it?
Yeah.
Saved by
Embraced by
the
the light.
Embraced by the Light. Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
small book. It was like maybe less than 200 pages.
yeah.
But I can really feel the that you could see the catalyst event that it was. You mentioned contract, and I could ask you so many questions because you've already opened up so far and so fast. But your daughter, do you communicate and connect uh, and feel her?
I believe that all this time, she's been the one behind everything that's occurred for me. Back then, I didn't get that. Uh, and, I would go and sit with mediums and, try to, is someone going to bring my daughter through, or is someone else going to bring my daughter through? Because by this time, after I had done Reiki, then I was a lot more open to exploring metaphysics and phenomena. And, um, I would sit in groups of mediums and they would never bring her through. And it was really frustrating, because I've got, someone next to me and grandma comes through, and your grandmother died only recently. She seems she's died from some sort of heart, and the person next to me would go, yeah, I just lost my grandma last week and she was 98.
Oh,
And I'd go, how come a 98-year-old grandmother can come through and yet here I am, like a total mess, heart shattered mess. Is that noise? Can you hear the noise in the background?
no, you're fine.
Okay, good.
You're
Sorry.
good.
Um, so yeah, how come she's not coming through? Her name is Taylor, right? Anyway, so that was quite a frustrating point for me. And I've got, great friends in the mediums, and she never came through. She still hasn't to this day, you know. And, I go to, I amongst the industry here in Australia, and as I said, my best friends are mediums, but never have I been in an audience where she's come through. So, but what I see in hindsight is that she wasn't meant to. There wasn't meant to be a your baby daughter's with Auntie Mary, and she's loved and cared for. There was the evidence wasn't coming through, and I understand how evidence of life after death helps people, and yet I wasn't getting that evidence, so I had to keep on pushing through until my evidence showed up, and then I realised once the evidence started showing up myself with what was going on in my life, then it's like, oh, she's actually doing this. She is actually here with me and guiding the way. And I just need to, and her and all beings, everything, ancestors, family, all of the, higher frequency beings, masters, whatever, the whole lot is like they're all here, and we're navigating they're guiding and navigating this path for me, you know. And so I've had to surrender to that. And then that's what happened. I started seeing how I was just led from there. From Reiki, I was led to did years of Reiki. Yeah, just the phenomenon that would happen with Reiki. That was evidence that there is something else other than just this third dimensional reality. So that's when I could go, well, right. So I could see myself expanding, my consciousness expanding from 3D to 4D. Like this is an incredible um, awakening into this fourth dimensional reality. And then all of the modalities, the healing modalities, the psychic development, I did years of Kriya Yoga, and another phenomena occurred when I was doing Kriya Yoga. So about a year after I'd been invited to a group of there's a group of 12 people, and I was called up by a lady who had no idea who she was. And she says, we've been watching your work. By this time, I had actually gone through and did my Reiki Masters in 1998. And it was with the Tibetan lineage of Yeshua Reiki. So I've gone from just reading a lot of things on grief and bereavement, then finding Louise Hay, and not Louise Hay, I found her too, Betty Eadie, and then when I was doing Kriya Yoga, there was another phenomenon had occurred where I was then visited by the Kriya Yoga masters, and one of them, of course, was also one of them was Yeshua. So all this Jesus. So for years since Taylor died, I was living in a country town, and there's a as many pubs as there is churches. So there's lots of churches in the country towns or anywhere, and it was very in the country here, it was still the energy was still very deep in Christianity. And so I was avoiding that like the plague. Had nothing to do with, I could not go to the churches. I did not want to speak to ministers. I didn't want to speak to anyone because my whole understanding of Christianity, of course, had changed like many people. So I was avoiding that. And then I went to when I did Kriya Yoga, it went, sorry, first when I did Reiki, and it was a Tibetan lineage, and part of the invocation is to call in Yeshua ben Joseph. And I haven't said to my Reiki master, like, I'm not going to call him in, you know. Yeshua ben Joseph, master of unconditional love and light, you know, Jesus the Nazarene. It's like, what? I'm not going to do that. It's the last thing I wanted to do. I thought this was Tibetan. And he said, and then he went on to say, but you know, Yeshua was a bodhisattva, you know, and I've gone, oh really? So okay. Then I went on to do Kriya Yoga, and then I was visited by the masters, and Yeshua came and sat in front of me, and I said to him, like what do you want? And he said, can I please just talk to you? And I said, well, good luck, you know, give it a good go, because I don't really want to have anything to do with you. Just a poor thing. Like I was blaming him for something. I was angry at him for something he didn't even do, right? That's what I know now. He didn't say that. He didn't say that. So so I had this amazing experience with Joshua, and he said, "Can I show you what I can? Can I show you what I came to teach the world?" You know, and I said, "Sure." And he took me up and out of my body, and just like into everything, you know, just everything. It was phenomenal. It was like I was the shimmering particles of absolutely all of existence, and you know, right down to the core of the earth, up through the trunk of the tree, right out to the leaves, and then I was the wind, and then I was the thunderstorm, I was the thunder, I was the raindrops, I was the sound of the raindrops hitting the ceiling, and it was just crazy. So I've come back into my body. The reason I came back into my body, because I was also a bird, and I was a bird looking out of the bird's eyes, and this bird was about to go into under some eaves, and it's a little bit like I'm experiencing all of these, all of everything, all of creation, and then I was just plopped into the bird's body, and then I was the bird's seeing, and then the bird chirped, and I came out of its mouth as the sound of the bird chirping, and came back into my body. And I was, by this time, I'm like, what the? Are we allowed to swear? I don't know if you swear. I swear on national television, so I can see you
Absolutely,
get it right.
absolutely, you can. So you were saying, what the
Yeah,
fuck is going on?
yeah. Yes. Yeah, so and that was it. So when I said, if there's a God, you better fucking show up. And and then this is like, what the fuck? So then he was still there, and he said to me, "Can I show you something else?" I said, "Sure." And then his heart like burst open and just flooded me with all this golden light, this warm, beautiful golden light. And it was sort of like unexplainable, because it was real and it was felt. And I just sat there crying, sobbing, you know, it's like, what is this? And then I had no understanding, as I said, about, I wanted to have anything to do with Christianity. And he said, "Can I come back and see you?" And I've gone, "Yeah, sure, but how are you going to do that? You know, I'm not going to go to church, and I'm not going to read the Bible." And he said to me, It's not my building and it's not my book. I will come back. You will know when I come back. You will know very well when I come back that this is evidence that this experience that I could have just gone, oh, it's all my imagination. And, unfortunately today people go and tell those stories to their psychologists and they end up in mental institutions. But I told the right people. And so then I called my Kriya yoga master and I told him what happened. And he said, oh, mate, he's the coolest. He's the coolest fucking dude. Like my Reiki master, my yoga teacher was, a very, very committed devotee to Kriya, and yet he was super cool. It's like we're in the 90s now. We're allowed to say that all of this stuff is exciting and cool. It's not just all holy and Tao. It's like it's exciting. It's good stuff. And he said he did the same thing to me. He said I was an atheist, and he said, and then this is how his story happened. And he said, and then Yeshua came in and did. He says he did the same thing to me. And he said, you know why he does it? And I said, no, why? And he said, he comes to those who don't don't want to have anything to do with him, in order so that we can then be the voice for saying, hang on, if you want to connect with Jesus, Yeshua, it's okay, it's safe. You don't have to worry about what it is that's pushing away and from the churches. It doesn't have to be about religion. It doesn't have to be about the churches. He's now, bringing this Christ consciousness onto the earth through those of us who didn't want to have anything to do with him. So he's running around getting all these friendships with people out of church, right? They're not going to church. I'll just go and visit them and say, hey, it's okay. I'll talk to you anyway. So that was another phenomena for me, because he said he'll come back and it wasn't his book and it wasn't his building, and it's like, well, that's a bit weird. And then I had then nearly a year to the day. I had come to a meeting, an event in Sydney, and there was a guy who was had come over to for an event, and I went to listen to him talk, and he then started having exactly the same conversation that I'm having here, and by being visited by Yeshua himself, and my mouth's dropped. I've gone, seriously? I thought it was just me. And this was like, I'm hearing this. I'm getting, this is it. This is what he said he was going to do. This is how he's going to come back. So I then went on to speak to this gentleman who's end up becoming my Satguru, my teacher, my mentor, and life has again since then. So this was in the end of the 90s, and so that was flowing through. Then when the Christ conscious teachings came in, I like dropped all the healing modalities. Like, yeah, Reiki's nice, and I was doing theta healing and reconnective healing and psychic surgery, and I've left that all behind in the 90s, and still teach, still do. But this was phenomenal. This was like the teachings of Christ consciousness was phenomenal. It was a game changer. And that then put me on the next journey of really discovering deeper through through the Aramaic teachings. Just the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic itself. You could have a week retreat on it. The Beatitudes, you could study for a year, and it just shifted my whole understanding about what the churches are actually, how they have translated everything. So, and then I went to Israel on a pilgrimage, and then because it gets better, it gets more exciting. So Yeshua visited me in the late 90s, and then in 2004 I went to Israel on a pilgrimage, and I was up on Mount Masada. I'd been there with some beautiful, beautiful like friends who were on this pathway as well. And I had this incredible feeling, this overwhelm. And again, it was the same feeling of when Yeshua was in front of me, pouring this light, expanding this light to my heart. And I was standing up the top, and because as far as I could see, it was just like desert. As far as I could see, and it's a little bit like the desert was lifting itself up. The vastness was just so big that it lifted itself up, sort of thing, metaphorically, and poured that vast, infinite, expansive spaciousness into my body. This is, I'm sure you might get this language. Trying to explain, things like this can be very complex. Anyway, my teacher was with me, and he came up, and this again, I'm crying, and I shared with him what was going on, and he just said to me, just stay with this, and breathe it, breathe every part of it into every cell of your being. Stay with it, and you will know when this activation is finished, or this transmission. And he said, and then we'll meet you down the bottom of the hill. So I did that, and I was like, what the fuck? What is this now? Then I came back to Australia, and within a fortnight later, I was exactly in the cosmos. So when I see this picture behind you, like that is just exactly what this next journey, this is where I went to next, was into cosmic consciousness. And so when I see that picture behind you, it's like, oh, it's home. It's like, yes, it excites me, absolutely beautiful. And so then I started on another journey. Then I started getting downloads for about 3 weeks, 3 o'clock in the morning, waking up, getting all this stuff in my dream state. And I was in the cosmos. I was being shown how all of the cosmos how everything came into creation. And then at one point, so first I was being shown how all of creation was occurring, and how Earth had evolved over the thousands of years. And then there was a voice that said, "Oh, who am I? Who am I?" I don't know if it was my voice or it was, anyway, consciousness' voice, or anyway. So I've gone, oh yeah, like, who am I? And it's like as if I kind of turned and went, oh yeah, who am I? And I just exploded. It just like everything was gone, and there was just this black abyss, just black abyss. And I've gone, oh my God, this is it. This is it. This is what we're all trying to get to down there on the earth plane. The peace that passeth all understanding. It was like, all we need to do is come here, and then that peace will be yours forever. So I got told, you will come back and teach this. And I said, how do you teach something to nothing? How do you teach nothing? How do you make nothing into something? How do you teach the nobody to the somebody? How do you teach formlessness? How do you teach formlessness to form? how do you teach the fifth dimension to the third dimension? So this was back, of course, in as I said, 2004, and then from then I started writing and writing. I'd already did my bachelor's degree in counselling psychology for 4 years. So I was um, writing very well at that stage. So I started writing about this phenomena, and so to this day, it's published, and it's called the Dhyana system. I am presence primordial meditation, and Inanna means I am. So in Aramaic, yeah. So here I am today, and this whole phenomena, this retreat center is called Inanna, and it's it's continuing to be following in that lineage of Christ consciousness, um, and yet there's no imagery of anything here that you know makes it look like it's Christian in any way. We have Christians all around us. So yeah, that's probably it in a nutshell.
I love it. I love it with the F bombs too,
Oh,
because that's the real conversation we have with the universal. I mean, you may not use F bombs, but you get to that point that you described that so many can relate to. Um,
mm,
wow, I don't even know where to start with you. Um, I mean, I can feel everything without, going into the intricacies of the verbal explanation. Part of your story is that spoke to me was the need for us. I've been going through this for the last month, and I've had plenty of divine episodes, I would say, over my life. Um, let me see you. Let me hear, in a more evidential way, right? And just like you said, Taylor wasn't going to come through. That would be serving the program or the human part of it because she
yeah,
was communicating to you through a higher, not just her voice, but a collaboration, like you said, of the descendants and the ancestors. And you saw that. Um,
yeah.
so that really spoke to me that, you hold all of it in the same way. The human part that can throw the F bombs at the universe at these come to Jesus meetings, and then also
Mm-hmm.
seeing the validity of that abyss that you're talking about. And I really
For
feel, yeah, I really feel strong that, and just recently, I felt it before, but I wrote it today personally, in my own private time and have felt it. I think I spoke it. I did a little, a live before the show, and that is walk to the darkness. The darkness from the human perspective and the programming and the conditioning is something that we would fear.
yeah.
And you hear these stories, and I'm not saying that there's one way or the other, but you come out of this life and you see the light and you walk through the light and you have these beings that and it's backwards. All right.
And then kind of stops there. It's all love and light. Well, I
Yeah.
say to people when they go, just go to the light. I went, no, go through the light. Go back. Go take yourself back on that 14 billion year journey. Where did the light come from? Go there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it feels like what's happening this year and through our whole journey is to be through force or flow, we're becoming more present. And whether that presence is serving us in our conscious human awake state or in our dimensional, you might say lucid dream or meditation state, it still works the same. When you described that abyss to me, it felt like the mother's womb, the holy darkness where we start new creations. And that's why I think as of today, I've adopted this thing where it's like, you know what? Walk to the darkness because we are the light. The light is all behind us, all the ancestors, all the descendants, everything that prizes us is with us, and we are the light. We are taking it into her darkness, you might say, the holy darkness, the womb, the mother's uh, seed of new creation. And I know that sounds a bit, new age-ish and all that, but I really feel like this is what's happening, and this is a kind of intelligence, to borrow a word that my wife brought in last night, a higher intelligence through some of the um, alignments that we're having, you might say, through our physical chakras and those outside of our body. We are in reverence of this incarnation and the series of incarnations that may have led to this as human beings. And we're taking nothing away from that because it's provided us code we've never had before. But we are not a human being. We are all of that. And that's the space that I really feel like we've come to embody. And there's no, I like what you said too. I mean, I do so appreciate the fact that you've continued to be a teacher, but in your own growth and evolution, you move past that because you know you're self-sourcing. And yet part of your purpose in this incarnation is to continue to show the way, as so many people here could relate. Um, yeah, really powerful testimony. Um, I want to ask you, if you don't mind, um, given everything that's happened in this point right now, which is the only thing that's relevant, this moment, the eternal moment is a constant presence, and I guess we are trying to get our arms around it and include the human being you know, to understand it, even though I think that might be something outside of our realm, and that's part of the surrendering. But where are you at with what's happening? And I don't mean to get into disclosures and conspiracy, and you're welcome to do whatever you want. But how is your life going? How is your field of energy navigating and experiencing and evolving now? Because to me, even up through yesterday, their reference points or context or code that were provided. But we're here now. We seem to be in a space where not only are we finding a greater presence, but we're taking something, we're not hitting an equilibrium so much as we are expanding. We're given the opportunity to expand it. And it's not just as you do and so many others in service to, right? At a human, kind of at a human level, but it's all of it. And it's how you think and it's how you speak and it's how you act and it's how you open up more and um, how you align your free will with universal will in a place that we've never been before, none of us. It's fascinating. But how are you functioning as a human, as a soul, a human soul, as a soul human in this world where many people might say, oh my God, this is crazy. All this stuff is going on. And we've got these saviors like Trump and this and that. And I have no political slant whatsoever. I'm just using that as an example. But these savior programs, and I think you spoke to this in the beginning in your own way, that we're still latching onto, all based on the identity. I love when you did that. Is this
Yeah.
me? But, all based on this identity. They're identity based, which is not to take away from the identity that is part of our multidimensionality, but it is no longer the prominent uh, part of us that we experience with. We're being given an opportunity to actually be the soul and body. And it's not just words. It's not just modalities. It's actually just a spontaneous, present, intuitive, high telepathy place where the old, I won't say the old, but the norm, the typical methods of communication and connection are no longer applicable. They're not. That seems to me in your story what's really come out, which is to say, I surrender, I surrender, I surrender. I still hold
Yes.
on to the virtues of the questions that my human aspect has brought in. And thank you, universe, for allowing me to drop an F bomb and ask these questions. And you have been met and reciprocated because, as so many of us, Your intentions are pure. Your heart is open. And I know that was a really long question, but I guess, how are you doing today? How are things going? Can you share with us your life now? Because I believe there's code in there because you carry both the human and the soul in such a equilibrium.
Yeah. So I'm far removed from being a conspiracy theorist, so you don't have to worry about that. Um, because where I'm at today um, transcends all the limitations of the third dimensional reality. I see the 3D experience, this experience, as the illusion. I really do see how powerful we are in our own right to be creating as creator through us, co-creating. Uh, the whole, we're always manifesting. We're just depending on where our level of consciousness is. And so, where I'm at today is, um, uh, it's just really about, if you want to put it in a nutshell, it's like meditation is imperative. Meditation is imperative for a spiritual awakening because it is what is turning us inward to this self, yeah, and then when we've surrendered into that into that essence of the self, the no self, then the wisdom comes up from your soul, from consciousness. It's like the wisdom's inward. It's not out here reading a book and doing all these things, and they are byproducts, and they are great because I've had to go through all of them as well. But now it's just a simple turning within, and because I had got to the point where I was so exhausted with trying to make life happen the way that, even through all of this whole spiritual journey, trying to make things happen. So the more, and which is a natural part of the evolution or the spiritual maturity, um, what Ken Wilber calls growing up. So there's waking up and then growing up. So we go through those stages of maturity and growing up, and where I'm at today is all of those things are, they have their place, but it's about just surrendering in every moment. Like, I'm not doing anything. I'm here and I am just the vehicle for the light, the consciousness, the the love to actually just continue to pour itself, not through me, but being in every aspect of my being, and also know that that aspect of myself is also everything else. It's like this is the union, the yoga, the connectivity. And when I got to that place where I totally surrendered to the divine, and again I'm falling to my knees. This world doesn't work right. So I said, there's always suffering, or there's something happening, or there's all these, again, everything that's happening politically in the world, all of those sorts of things, family structures, society, it's like, oh mate, there's a lot going on here. And then once I had continued to practice the system that was given to me, then I was able to transcend everything, just everything. It actually shifted. So, Bashar talks about parallel realities, and I really love that because I can see how shifting each parallel reality is we're capable of doing it. And so, and we're always shifting. And then I've had this realization that this parallel reality that I live in now is nothing, it's non-duality. It's nothing and everything. It's evolutionary. So when I've continued to give my total self to that, not to humanity. So it's not like so much like service to humanity is still, I'm serving somebody outside of myself. And it was like, no, like I'm serving the divine. I'm serving something that is who I am inside of myself. It's like this bowing, the namaste and the bowing is like there's this inward bow to the divine, to my own soul, to this experience. That is what is serving humanity through me. Yet I am on my knees and in honor and reverence to serving that. And that also is self-love, because the word self-love can get thrown around a lot now too. And yet I say to people, it's not about loving yourself and having some pedicures and bubble baths, and this is like loving the self that is the divine, loving the self that is your soul. Fall in love with that and stay there, because reconnecting and moving into alignment with the divine and the self, the soul, the self, the higher self, all of that. That's where Shantari comes from. So Shantari is that, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So Shantari is sort of like the Holy Spirit, and the Father, the divine, and the Son, all of us, all of humanity. So again, that's where I'm living from every moment with every breath that I take, because I see the breath as the carriage of the soul. The body's the vehicle, but the breath is the carriage, yeah? And so I, again, I live each moment to just want to just give myself to that and get out of the way and let, well, I would say, so because of my lineage being now in Christian mysticism, or beyond that into Christ consciousness now, that lineage is actually here as the Christ Council, and it's living through me. And every time I get in the way, or I think I've got to do it, the me, then it all stops working. When I surrender, when I stop, when I breathe, when I move inward into the silence and to the self, the void, the abyss, is like everything happens. And I don't need to do anything. It's all happening for me, not happening to me. It's happening now, it's happening for me. And it's incredible. And then here I am, because I was homeless, and well, not homeless. I always had some home to go to, but I was recently living. I'd lived with my children. Had a marriage, and then we'd separated, and I was renting homes, and it's only been the last sort of 5 years that I've been living with my sister, and and I've gone into my sister's house, and she says, "Oh, you can have your niece's bedroom," and I've gone into my niece's bedroom, and there's still she's 30. She's 30. No, she's not. She's 34. She's 34. And walking into my niece's bedroom was like walking into a shrine of my sister's holding on to that little girl. And so I've gone, oh, holy shit. This is a wake-up call. So I stayed with my sister for a few years, which I'm deeply appreciative and love my sister. But I could see this is what people do. When their children leave home, they want to hold on to every memory they've got, because their own identification is holding on to with being the mother, that being the daughter, and they can't let go of that memory. That's what holds them together. So I just continued to do the work. I found other venues to work from, and then one of my one of my students said, you need a place where you can just be and people can come to you because we follow you all around Australia, right? Not physically. Now, it doesn't matter where I am. So I can be at Queensland or I can be in New South Wales or I can be outback. And they've all sort of, there's a community that's always stayed. And then, and that conversation led to another one of my students going, I agree. Like, yes, we need a place. We need a place where we can actually just all be together, come together. We can share, we can meditate, we can sing, we can dance, we can play. And I'm all going, oh, this is sounding really, really big. I can't you know, I'm not the person that's going to come up with this sort of money. How does a community like that look, and then I'm also kind of really mindful of, some of um, the religious communities that have got together in the past, and the ashrams and the dogmas, and so my mind also is moving away from that old um, mythical context of ashrams and gurus and this. Uh, yeah, I just surrendered to that, and within 12 months, um, my students had collected enough money to buy a property here, just about 90 minutes north of Sydney. And well, now I'm now living in this beautiful, all around me Australian bushland, and we have volunteers are coming in and building and renovating and creating this beautiful sacred space, temple, shala, whatever it is, and there's so much love just being poured into getting this place ready so more people can come. So there's much more. It's a space that's just being held um, for people to come in, and so that's what's happening today, and that's the miracles of this surrender.
Mm.
And just to top this off, you'll like this one, Todd. So when my friend looked at this property and he said, "Look, we're gonna see if we can get this property." I said, "Okay," and we came up and had a look at it, and then uh, he said, "Okay," I put a deposit down, and I said to him, "Oh, can you tell me what's the name of the property? What's the address so I can tell my family and everyone to have a look at it?" And he said, "Number 1 Taylor's Road." Yeah, it's
I've
like,
no,
go figure. There's your answer, right? Is Taylor always been the one making the way? And it was like, and to me, it's just taken me 30 bloody years. Yeah. And then it was like, boom, number 1 Taylor's Road. Here I am, Mum. Here we are.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Wow. I have noticed that over the last, I don't even know how to gauge it, but certainly this year, I would say a lot of last year, we always had these synchronicities of the numbers. And then, occasionally it would be you meet somebody at the right time and these little weird things happen. But an increase in the physical synchronicities, what I call physical synchronicities, such as what you experienced in such a huge way, and all the physical synchronicities you must have had along the way. I feel like you really have are on the front end or broke through um, our potential, you might say, our possibilities. And I believe a lot of people here could relate to this because a lot of people here are practitioners or they do something else like me that is in service, from that, which you made so clear, from that old perspective, because there is another side to that now, right? I mean, where we leave all that other stuff behind and now it becomes something higher and more pure and more unified. But I really feel like there could very well be some some code that you could offer as to how that happened. Because you have, do I charge, and do I just get donations, or do I, how do I do that? How do I uh, emit this energy from my heart and gain a greater faith in the return, in that equilibrium, And your story feels like that. I know you mentioned 30 years. I mean, for me, it was 2011. So you were like hitting this in the early 90s, and this whole evolution. And you became a practitioner, and you lived with your sister. And I love the way, and your humility and the honor and reverence that you have for that, and the honesty that you have about it. Because again, you're showing the human part and the soul part walking together. But if you could just like take us, I think you mentioned 12 months later, could you kind of take us through just quickly what that looked like? Was it organic? Did it unfold naturally? Did you freak out? Was your levels of letting go the type where you were like curled up in a ball, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Crying your eyes out. I mean, and how did your playmates, your collaborators come into the fold? Was it a natural progression? Was that part of the allowance for the creation to occur? Um, Ultimately, letting go. And I think the last part of that long question would be, did you have a challenge with receiving?
I think the first, like from 1992, I think it was very, very clunky. It was me, it was the seeker. Yeah. So the seeker was trying to get things, and trying to heal from this inner torment. Yes, the heart breaking, the heart shattering. Um, the transmission occurred, as I said, in 2000 when I started doing these teachings of Christ consciousness, which I now teach here in Australia. And so the transmission for me was giving myself completely to the mystery of the voice for love, that message of Christ consciousness. And that was the biggest transmission. So I think maybe you call them codes. Did
I'm
you hear
still here,
that?
but I'm still here, but
Oh,
I
good.
put you on the screen by yourself because the light, which we know,
Oh,
was
yeah.
just like doing some crazy stuff behind you, and it's all part of your transmission.
Oh,
But
okay. So
no, yeah,
yeah, so that was.
go ahead.
So I'll just try to get the camera a bit so we can
No,
my
no, it
head on.
was perfect. No, I'm talking about the light, not the
Oh,
stuff we can prove to the human beings, but the light was like, and I saw these pastels, and I believe that. That's not some kind of a, tech issue. I think that's a
you're right.
evidence,
Yes, yes,
right?
of course.
But
Yeah, yeah.
like, I think like in the last year, like, because you just landed at this place. I remember when, now that you've mentioned it, that we were trading messages, and you said, I just got this retreat, and I'll
I'm
call you
busy.
back. Yeah. But what was that 12 months like? Because the last 12 months have been, you know, the most confronting, the most expanding, the most potential, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, for all of us. And the information is coming through so fast that we can't, understand it all the time. And we're getting to that place of surrender where we can say, okay, I got it, and it'll come for me or to me when I need it, in the spontaneous, intuitive present moment. But as you were navigating the last 12 months with your human and your soul in such reverence and collaboration and, partnership, how was that for you? Was it just ease and grace the whole 12
Oh,
months?
okay. Oh,
Was there
well,
was was there anything that kind of like put you over a threshold or two or three or four different things?
You took the words right out of my mouth, because I was going to say to you when I realised, ease and grace, ease and grace. It's just in giving myself totally to being the vehicle of communication for the divine, and just nothing else mattered. So it's like I'm completely give myself wholly and solely to this um, extraordinary, beautiful, magnificent mystery that's been a 14 billion year journey. Like it's 14 billion years. Come on, like this is a pretty cool sort of entity. So I'll bow to that, because it's got us all to here to where we are today, and that it's time now that we turn and look back through the eye of the needle and see that that's where we came from, and to even go, as I said, into beyond the light, into the void. And that's the context, of course, for me, the fifth dimensional reality, where we then we still use the tools, what I would call the fourth dimensional tools, all of the healing modalities, our connecting with our guides, our talking to other beings. It's like, because I still do that. I sit and channel and speak with the council myself, and then back to the void, the ground of being. So there's always returning to the ground of being, which is peace, and then knowing that then I'm not only the aspect of myself that is being peace, there's also the wave that rises out of that is the light and the love. So I just constantly give myself to that mystery, and I can't probably explain it, because and some people can explain it. I'm just sort of living it, and just in a total place of trust. Trust is probably a big word as well, but it's been ease and grace. I can see all the other stuff going on in the other parallel realities. I choose the path of ease and grace, and trust, and I can still see where there is, as you said, there's all these conspiracies and things going on, but that's not my world. That's not the channel I'm tuned into. And it doesn't mean to say I'm ignorant to anything. But at the same time, I've been watching, as everyone has, watching since especially since COVID, and the whole shift that occurred through those couple of years. And I just saw that as, I just went, oh, look what the divine's doing now. I didn't see any of it. It actually, I was just going, the gift, the COVID, the gift of the COVID spirit. This is love. Everything's love. Everything that is in existence is love. So this is love too, and it's on this earth plane to shift. This is love shifting the consciousness of humanity. What reality we choose to connect that with. Because there's fear. There's not only fear of dying. My daughter works in an aged care, and she said, "Mum, people are really dying." She said, "This is not a fucking conspiracy." She said, "It's giving me the shits." She said, "This is real. I'm the person who loves these old people so much." And she said, "My old people are dying and I love them. This is real stuff." So then it's sort of like, okay, and then over here, then there was all the conspiracy theories and all this stuff, and I've just gone, you know what? All I see, nothing changed the only thing that changed in my world with those 3 years, the 3 years of COVID, was that I put my system up on the internet, and I had actually then was teaching internationally, teaching, right? So prior to that, I wasn't teaching internationally. So that time opened up an amazing opportunity for me to actually do online stuff as well, no doubt.
Yeah,
What happened with so many people?
yeah, yes, yeah, which would have probably not been possible. Well, obviously, if you were attached to those narratives and those stories. I want to ask you, I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
throw two or three words at you. I'm not playing a game or anything. I'm just curious as to what comes to mind. It might give me, and hopefully the people that are listening, if they're on the same wavelength I am, I'm trying to learn. I feel like this is a session, and I thank you for it. Um, what does the word shadow mean to you today?
Shadow means the separation. The shadow is the ego's the, the ego's interpretation of itself separate from the divine. So, like what is behind you is like from the ground of being, the Big Bang, 14 billion years ago. And as you can see, like there's tiny little points of light everywhere behind you, and then there's the one in the middle. So shadow for me means that all those singularly points of light all seem to be separate from each other. And yet, if they were all to come back into the whole, which is that light behind you, so it's like if yes, that's it. So if we just like suck all those lights back into the big light, the big love, then so that's where I see the shadow. The shadow is the aspect of the self, the ego mind, the body mind, that actually thinks it's separate from its source of love. And that has been occurring since the um, the moment that the soul or the divine, which is the soul, decided to have its next embodiment upon this earth. And this is the light, this is consciousness, this is the divine, the aspect of the divine, knowing itself as this infinite and a timeless expression, existence of just the most brilliant light, the most palpable depth of peace, this most incredible, as I said, an extraordinary being. Oh, we're going to come down on the earth as that. And so the moment that the soul actually starts moving up and down through once conception has occurred, then we have the soul contract. Conception has occurred. The soul at that stage knows exactly what's going on. It knows that the um, the uh, the parents that is coming through is going to best serve their own soul's evolution. So at conception, that link is made between soul and the earth. And that's the very first point of the shadow. That's the very first point of separation. And as slowly and as the gestation occurs, and then we're in the womb, and we're also resting and swimming in the womb of our parents. So already then, we're taking in what's going on for our mother and our environment. So the separation has already begun, and then we separate ourselves from the womb again. So we've already separated from one, as you said, one womb, and the birthing of creation, and then we've moved into our third dimensional womb, and then we've left that as well. So separation occurs all the way down, from the moment that, even from the moment that, as I said, the light occurred, the Big Bang occurred, and all of the points of light were just separate from the source of the light. So then we go through, then we have our birth trauma, and then we're born as this pure little being, and yet, of course, at that moment, it's the closest thing to God is a newborn baby, a puppy, a kitten, a new leaf on the tree. There's just this purity, this innocence. And so soul comes through as that purity and that innocence, because that is who and what it truly is. So then, continuing with the shadow, then the shadow becomes the trauma of that point of separation, and then while ever we are fixated on our trauma, then it holds us back from being in or waking up. So I'm also a crisis and trauma counsellor as well, and so all of the work I do with any shadow work is to just integrate people back into their wholeness. He's like, you're a soul. I'm going to show you how you are that soul. I'm going to teach you how you're that. We're going to acknowledge that your trauma is your healing story, because your story is going to be able to then, your soul contract is then going to be your way of teaching humanity yourself and serving the divine. And so that's what I see the shadow as. So I see the shadow as the ego, right? I see the shadow that is like, here we are, born onto this earth plane and just in total alignment with the divine. The breath is the carriage of the soul. Soul is spirit. Spirit is energy. Energy is light. Light is God. God is love. So let's just go into remembering that this holy sacred breath that we're breathing is literally, we're breathing God. And so a lot of the big breathwork stuff that's going on today, people going, oh, it's amazing, it's the greatest thing I've ever done. And I just go, well, that's because you're all breathing consciously and you're acknowledging the God that you are. So this is a big awakening that's happening. Breathwork's going on everywhere. Everyone's just going, oh, I'm going to breathe the breath. And even then, they're not really getting to what the breath really is, although it's been taught in the ancient teachings, wisdoms forever. So that's, in a nutshell, the shadow is the ego. It's
Yeah.
trauma,
Yeah.
separate from source.
I like that. And I also love the example that you ended with because, regardless of what we know or don't know or think we know, the pure intention that's driving those people into that breath work is giving them back, you know, that stronger connection with infinite intelligence. I want to ask you one more question, then I'm going to ask you a favor. Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it. But I would like to ask you this on a personal level, just, in the synopsis, when did your relationship change with the shadow? As you told your story in the beginning, so many of us can relate to that because we had traumas or successive traumas that catalyzed our awakening, quote unquote. Was there a point where your relationship changed with your perception or perspective of shadow, where it no longer was a handicap or a weight, but a collaborator or something that just became a point of context without any charge or something like that? Was there a point where that happened for you?
So the shadow is our ally, our friend, yeah. Um, it's still our shadow is our teaching story, and so it's not that it still doesn't occur for us that we, mine is love leaves, okay, or um, or I can't speak up, I'm not validated, I'm not heard, and I can go back to the day when I remember being, when I was 12 years old and my dog dying. Love leaves. What is the first memory I've got of not being speaking up, not being validated, not being acknowledged? And I go back to seeing myself as being bullied by my big brother. And every time something happened, if he'd pinch me or whatever, he'd say, "If you go and dob on me, if you tell mum and dad, I'm gonna pinch you harder." So there was always, if I speak up, I'm going to be punished, right? So I was able to to follow back through, following like it's like following the cookie crumbs back to the root cause of everything that actually was then going to continue to unfold in my life for me to heal my relationship with that aspect of the self that I'm thinking is the third dimensional self. And all that is always doing is just all pointing me, was just continuing to direct me and point me back this way, back to myself, back to my connection with the divine, rather than outward. So that started happening into 2000s when I started. So as I said, in the 90s, it was healing, and it was healing and yoga and rebirthing and breath work. So that's why I get how it's working today. It's just on a bigger scale, right? And then those that come before us, in the 70s and the 60s. So the moment that I really started understanding my soul contract and the shadow was more in the 2000s. Once after I had been visited by Yeshua, once that happened, then everything shifted. I was happy to stop doing. I've taught nearly 4,000 people Reiki, in the last 20 years. But it's like, that's not relevant to me anymore. It's like, this is what's most relevant. Because this was actually where the real work is done. And so it's an ancient wisdom teaching. So I also have my own sort of umbrella called the awakening process. And the awakening process has like 6 pillars. The first imperative pillar for awakening is to have a really strong and stable ancient wisdom teachings to actually, that might be just quantum physics. It's like something that's actually creating new neural pathways and constantly evolving to help us as this spiritual being having the human experience. So a philosophy or wisdom teachings is imperative, and then meditation is equal to that. You can know because you can know about creation, you can know about the evolution of all of existence. You can know about it till the cows come home, but knowing about it and being it are two different things. So I have met people that are very intelligent and they can speak more groovier words than I can, and they're really intelligent. And yet, I've also know that those people haven't gone into their shadow and done their own. This is like, it's not about just all of the ascension, the groovy ascension stuff. This is about understanding the ascended current, the ascension, and then descending it back down into the body and living and walking on this earth like the masters did before us. And so that's where the shift occurred. Yeah, when I stopped doing, I picked up on a philosophy, I did meditation, I did the shadow work. So it's imperative to do the shadow work. And then the community and the people, staying human and having beautiful community and friends around you so that we can actually know that we are held. We are held in this reality. We can also have our family there as well, that it's our spiritual family. The modalities and everything still come into that, like, yoga, massage, Reiki, developing our psychic abilities. All of that is one of the pillars as well. Yet the most imperative for me is the philosophy, the wisdom teachings, and the meditation, and the shadow work is the most important. I don't know. Is
Yeah.
that what you asked me?
Yeah, we're doing great. You're doing fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, it sounds to me like that first part where you call it the wisdom teachings, philosophy, something innate within us that we resonate and align with that probably came through, through that inward outward connection that we know, and then boom. And I like the meditation part. There's been a lot of talk this year about, at least on this show and in my life and with my wife, has been the isolation, what I call the universal isolation, the silence, the solitude, which can't really be, um, I don't know, appreciated if you want to base it on linear time. I might need
Mm.
10 minutes, you might need 10 hours, but to go into that space and that only you can, or only I can for myself or for yourself. I wanted to ask you uh, if you would be open. I don't know anything about really what you do. I have general because I went to your page, but would you be open to either channeling with us in openness and or a meditation, uh,
Mhm.
in order to kind of bring all this together for the last, hour and a half and uh, enter that or widen the space of this unity consciousness that we have here with those people that are present and those that will be watching on replay.
Indeed, it will be my pleasure. Okay, so yeah, look, there's a lot of teachers actually now today that are doing a lot more quantum meditations or cosmic consciousness meditations, which is really exciting because when I saw all this happening, it's like, yes, this is another validation that what it is I've just been through is really occurring on the earth. And so, yeah, how I would share is by inviting everybody to close their eyes, and I can just take them through a meditation. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, either that or a channel or both, either whatever you want to do, or they might be one and the same thing.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Um, so yeah, for this purpose, I don't. I'm not. This. I mean, I do channel the Christ Council when I'm
Just do
able
do
to
do
move in that
whatever
space.
do yeah,
Okay.
do whatever feels right to you. Do whatever feels
Yeah.
right to you.
Yeah. Which
And
is one
thank
and the
you. Thank
same.
you.
Yeah. So yeah, like it is one and the same. I now know that the Christ Council or whatever it is, whatever beautiful intelligence and wisdom it is that moves through all of us, even now, giving all of this mystery a name, and it's just the ego still not the ego, but it's still trying the positive aspect of the mind, still trying to give it a box, give it a label, we're still trying to make sense of the senseless, and and the mind will naturally, because as this physical body, we will believe the things that we see, and everything on this third dimension becomes an object of our attention. And then, as we gaze through it from our eyes, what we see, then we perceive it to be a particular way, and everyone's perceptions of one box, is different to another. So, for me, even connecting to just the words, the context of the council is always about inviting everyone to reconnect to their self, their true self, and their unity with the divine. And I'd mentioned earlier that the way that I would do this and the way that I myself teach is to get everyone to first and foremost take a deep breath. Uh, and so here ourselves at Anana, it's like it's part of our daily practice. Meditation is a daily practice for all of us. It is returning to the source of divinity and to God, whatever name we even give that. It's just a name for the mystery. But in truth, as we breathe, we're breathing, there, although we can't see the breath, but the breath is in itself, of itself, energy, particles of light, frequency. So, as I said earlier, the breath is the carriage of the soul. So we just take this moment out to connect up to our breath and imagining maybe we're standing beneath the sun, just like we do on a beautiful sunny day, and we're receiving the downpouring of light, and the sun could represent the source of divinity, the creator, and the beams of light that extend and expand itself from that central sun. We're breathing that in. So you're breathing in. The breath is the carriage of the soul. Soul is spirit, spirit is light, light is God, God is love. So therefore we're breathing the breath of God, the breath of the divine. We're breathing it, but it's breathing us. I breathe the breath of love, and the breath of love breathes me. So we're just surrendering and just reclining and relaxing. And we're acknowledging that there's something else going on. I'm sort of not really doing the breathing. I'm being breathed. Just like the moment that I took the first breath when I was born upon this earth. Soul anchored into the body. The minute that little baby took its first breath. And the fullness of the soul, the fullness of the divine was embodied in the little package. And so here we are today. And we're continuing to just remember now that we are still that pure light. We are still that source of divinity that allows all things, it embraces all things, it trusts all things, it transcends all things. And when we are surrendering to that and allowing that breath to be received, we're welcoming that breath deeper into our hearts, the lungs expanding as we breathe in, calling in and inviting that breath in. And as we're breathing in from the heart center is what Yeshua showed me. It's like we're expanding. So we're breathing in and extending and expanding that incredible light, that profound light beyond our own comprehension. The light is the most incredible source of pure love that we can't even experience. We think we know that love on this planet, but the love of the light, of the divinity, of the divine, of the soul, it is, you can't even touch it with our own love here on earth. It's so much bigger, so much grander. So we're breathing that in, and as we breathe in that light expanding from our heart, and as we exhale, we're breathing that light back to the very center point of our heart. We can do this by continuing to breathe in the light, and we can imagine that it's activating all our energy centers, our chakras as well, wherever you choose to focus your attention. But deeper still, even then, breathing into the heart and expanding from the heart, which is that extension of love, the wave of love, that love becoming the action, this love that is here for us to make visible. We're making this love visible through this vehicle called the body. And that's what our purpose is. Our purpose is to remember this, to join with this, to move back into alignment, because we just fragment ourselves out into the stories, into the narratives, into the politics, into the conspiracies. We fragment, just like all of those points of light behind Todd. It's like this. They're our fragmented selves. So moving back together into alignment with the breath is calling back all the fragmented parts of those light so that we move back into this essence of being, this, and we bring everything back into wholeness. So all fragmented parts are calling back into wholeness, and then we even breathe deeper. And we call that breath, we call the light, and we invite it even deeper into the belly. And just noticing the belly rising on your in-breath. You're filling up your belly with that light. So we're connecting now and activating the lower chakras, all those lower chakras that we've shut down through survival. And now we're continuing to breathe light into the lower energy centers, receiving that light, welcoming that light. And in the light itself, there is a sweetness. So we're just gently and simply, effortlessly, with grace and ease, receiving and just allowing, gently, being gentle, and just allowing the most simplest moment to occur. There's nothing difficult about this. And there should never be anything difficult about connecting with the divine, or should be nothing difficult about love. It's difficult if we're in our mindset when we're in our body mind. But this love, this peace, this is always here. It never leaves us. We fragment away from it. But deeper within, even deeper still, there is silence. And as we return to that silence and that stillness at the center of eternity, deep within, in our own ground of being, when we look within and we return to our own primordial being, there is just rest. And we can rest here and simply heal and know that it is returning to the womb, where then we can birth again from that womb of creation. But when we're birthing from the womb, from this ground of being, what it is that births from this place, this inner stillness, is only going to be the good, the holy, and the beautiful. We're not we're not creating from our minds. We're not trying to make. We're actually in alignment as creator with the creator. This is our unity. This is our oneness. This is true yoga. And as we're on this earth plane, this beautiful being now, as we're awakening upon this earth, we're extending, all these souls are waking up through, the divine is waking up through us. And we are now walking this earth with this beautiful knowing that we are love. I am love. I am gratitude. I'm not just doing or being grateful for things. I actually am the essence that gratitude is. It's not something that I have to do. It's who I am. I am compassion. Compassion isn't something I do. It's the essence and the fragrance of this light that I am. I am a cosmic being. I am the universal mind. as I extend my awareness beyond the earth. And I can then, as my awareness moves into the cosmos, I'm this too. I am the aspect, the third dimensional self on the earth. There's love on all dimensions. Love as a human being. And then love in the cosmic dimension, the universal intelligence, the consciousness of the sun, the earth, the planets, the galaxy, the cosmos. And I then continue to extend and expand further and further and further and further until there is nothing left but a tiny pinprick of light floating in the universal mind, the cosmic mind. And as we've followed a 14 billion year journey back to this one point of light, and then we allow ourselves to be drawn to this radiant point of light. And we allow ourselves to effortlessly fall in and disappear or merge with that light, that point of light. And we become that light that is infinite, that is creative. It's the essence of all consciousness, of all beings, the purity. This consciousness is grace, it's bliss. And then we just stay in this moment and move into the emptiness. The emptiness, the timeless, formless, eternal emptiness. Having nothing, knowing nothing, being no one. It's the emptiness, to the primordial being itself. Here is our true I amness. I am divine presence. I am absolute silence. I am pure being. And even the words fall away. Pure being falls away. Am falls away. And all that is left is the I. The very first knowing. The pure essence of divinity. I. And even that can fall away. And here we are. We return to point zero, where nothing's happening. I am no one. And there is peace. The peace that passeth all understanding. This is what we've come to this earth to experience. To remember this is who I am. And so it's from here that I live every moment, living every day and every moment from this space, trusting in this, handing everything, handing it all over. Not my will, but thy will be done. And so, yeah, from here, I invite you back into the room where we are here, and also those who are, may have closed their eyes and taken that little journey. So, this is, yeah, that's my offering. They're the codes.
Well, since you didn't mind dropping a few F-bombs, I'm going to say fucking A. That means yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was wonderful. The whole time has been wonderful. I really appreciate it. Thank you for staying extra long with me. I really wish you the best. This point forward, I know you're working in collaboration with the universal energy, and I really am honored to be able to hold this space for you and share this space with you and listen to your story. I feel like that what you're doing is a physical template of what's happening, something that my wife and I would like to do. Although, you know, there's no specific plan. And that's why I was asking you the things about unfoldment and the organic. So I feel like that we're on
Yes.
it. Many other people are as well. But yes, thank you for physically uh, anchoring the grid with you and your friends and your soul family and the physical. They're 90 miles out of Sydney, and I hope to collaborate with you again. Blessings of
Indeed.
grace to you and all your
Mm.
loved ones and all that you're getting into.
Thanks, Todd. I am just, that final thing would be um, when I was ready, it turned up. So, um, of myself, I had to be ready for it to show up. Like with anything, if it's meant to be, when you're ready, it will show up. So, yeah, just keep on
Yeah. And that's the way it works through
meditating.
every threshold as well,
Yeah,
right? We don't just
yeah,
get to one point. Then, you know what I loved about
yeah,
your telling of shadow was
yeah,
like if this is the one, this is the
yeah,
original one.
yeah,
Can't do it
yeah,
really.
yeah.
When you were saying that, and you were saying actually the shadow comes into play from the moment we separate from there. And then I'm looking at all
Into
these stars, right? I'm looking at all these,
yes, yeah,
and I'm going,
yeah.
oh my God, the shadow is what's between every one of these stars, which is really
Mm-hmm.
not a shadow, right? I mean, it's
Mm,
it's amazing, the things that we can pick up and what I was
yeah.
calling code. And but yeah, I hope to collaborate with you again down the road. And thank you so much for being so open and bringing your human and bringing your soul.
Thank
Uh,
you.
I look forward to seeing you on this side, the other side, or both.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
All right. Take
Yeah.
care.
Thanks,
Take care.
Todd. Thank you.
Oh,
See
would you
ya.
please do me a favor and either send me the links to your to your platforms, particularly the one that you set up during COVID, or
Yep.
put them on the. If you send them to me, I'll put them on YouTube, X, and Facebook.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Lots of love,
All right. Take care.
and
Have a great day.
I hope to see.
Yeah.
Okay. See ya. Bye.